All right, we're live. All right, this is the Mot Crypto Special. This is typically Mot Finance, but the co-host Malcolm Reese, he's in the National Guard, and here in Ohio, they sent the National Guard out to all the. I'm going to be cautious with my words here. The jab sites, the testing sites, and the hospitals. So to protect us from the unicorn. If you catch my
Wow.
drift, the bird flu, whatever the hell it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever.
So yeah. So today is Mot Crypto. We had to push it back to Sunday because Richard Hart, he did a live stream, a spontaneous live stream on Friday, and that kind of put a damper on our plans. But that's okay. The man's much more educated than I think Wales would agree with me than he and I both. So more
Yes, sir.
knowledgeable in the space. So, he's out there building shit. Which, for those of you who don't know, Wales only, big influencer in the Hex community and now the Richard Hart ecosystem. If I'm not mistaken, he's a former Wall Street trader as well. He's a charts pro. The man is a genius when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, Wales, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, man, what the hell happened to Richard Hart's YouTube channel?
Well, I just happened to be tuning in. I had just come in from being outside, and when I tuned in, they tuned it out.
Damn.
Literally. Yeah, literally. Like I sat down, he talked for maybe like 30 seconds. I really wasn't paying attention yet because I was still moving around and all that. And the next thing I knew, plug, like right when I was ready to pay attention, pulled. I was like, oh, wow, okay. And
Jeez.
then I didn't realize that they had deleted the account until I decided to, I guess, exit. Like I think I might have clicked back or something. Right clicked and hit back, and then that's when I saw they deleted the account.
Yeah,
Yep.
man, that's wild. I had no clue it happened until like 2 minutes ago when I was
Oh
on Twitter.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, what the hell? His channel got deleted and everything. But apparently, he said on Twitter that he thinks it has to do with a lot of the accounts getting hacked.
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know. What
know.
do you think, man? I mean, a
I
lot of
don't know.
people are getting banned right now. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I think I haven't heard anything about a hack for YouTube.
mhm.
What I have heard is that they don't want people talking about financial freedom. So it's hard
Right,
to say what's exactly going on.
right,
You
right.
know, it's really hard to say. But one thing we do know is that it's easy for them to say it was a hack.
Hmm.
That's what we do know. It's very easy for them to be able to say that because none of us are going to are going to be able to go into the root system and verify anything.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter what they say. We're not going to be able to get access, and we're not going to really be able to know unless we make it our business and find a way to get into these AWS servers and all that good stuff,
Right.
right? Like it's not going to be a cakewalk because it's structured to not be. So these are things people got to take into consideration. But
Right.
that doesn't mean you just take whatever they say at face value either, because you damn well know better than that by now, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah,
pretty much anything that you hear from the mainstream or these big corporations, you
hundred
just
percent
turn it
lie.
upside down. You
That's right.
invert it, and it's probably the truth if you
Correct.
just invert what they say. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure he'll have another YouTube channel come up and everything. But this is why I think it's so crucial for people who are speaking truth in whatever industry they're speaking truth
Correct.
in to have multiple platforms where people can go to. And Richard Hart has set himself up for that. MOT Media, we do that as well. We're on BitChute, Odyssey, podcasting all over. We had a strike recently where we couldn't post anything for a week because we talked about the jabs, but we called it by the real name and we got a little too vocal with our opinions and they
Mm,
didn't like that. So
yeah.
we got striked for a week. So what's going on, everyone? Some
Yeah.
chats in here. So yeah, but man, let's jump into what's going on with crypto, and then we'll get into PulseX, Pulsechain, and maybe talk about Hex a little bit because
Yeah.
right now, man, the market is tanking, bro. The market
Yep.
is tanking, and I'm seeing a bunch of crying Wojaks, red faced, blood tears Wojaks on Twitter, man. Just
That's
it's
funny.
tanking. Everybody, I remember Max Kaiser at the beginning of last year saying that Bitcoin would hit 250K at this bull
Yeah,
run.
that was funny, wasn't it?
where's the 250? Where's the 250?
Yeah,
We're down at 35K, man. So
I don't know.
What's going on? I mean, what let's hear Wales Only's take on it.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm nobody. I'm not a Max Kaiser. I don't have hundred thousands of viewers, so it's fine. But one thing we do know is that the so-called cryptocurrency ecosystem that currently exists has been co-opted by the legacy financial system powers that be, and we can prove this just by looking at those persons that work for Blockstream. Right, Blockstream is the center of it all. Look at how Ethereum works. Look at how a lot of things function in the system. Right, like the grifting is disgusting. The promotions of projects. I mean, just talking about the term project, right? Like, let's talk about that bullshit because that is some bullshit, right? You got people that don't even know what the fuck a cryptocurrency is supposed to be, thinking that they can assess a cryptocurrency project. How funny is that?
Right.
Let's think about that. I've never even said that out loud, but let's say it, right? Because this is where we're at right now. Because that's exactly what we're dealing with. At this point in time, 99% of the motherfuckers in cryptocurrency, and I'm saying this with quotes because it's all promise coins, it ain't no cryptocurrencies, none of them are individuals that don't know what the fuck a cryptocurrency is yet think they can analyze one. How funny is that?
Right.
That's fucking comical.
Yeah. No, you're right, dude. And it baffles me the level of education and knowledge people have in crypto. I've been in the space since like 2016, right? But I wouldn't consider myself an expert by any means.
Right.
I've just been through a couple cycles and I know kind of the patterns. I'm pretty quick to pick up patterns. And, when I encounter people and we talk about crypto, even people that are in crypto, they're like, Luis, you're probably, and I'm not just, in Wales, you're smarter than me when it comes to crypto. There's a lot of Hexicans who are smarter than me. I'm just saying in my real life, I'm like the most knowledgeable person people know when it comes to crypto. And that's kind of sad because I'm like, I'm not a developer. I'm not, you asked me to audit something for a coin. I'm not going to tell you whether it's
you're not going to have a fucking clue. That's right.
Exactly. Like, I just go with my intuition. I have good pattern recognition. And so it just baffles me that so many people are just in it, like strictly for the quick gains. Like they don't realize that, you have to hold these things for a while. Like it's not just one bull run and you're wealthy and you can retire.
They don't understand that those 1,000% are not as common as they seem to be.
Right. Exactly. The other day I was on Twitter and I was going back and forth with some Bitcoin maxis because they were talking about how Bitcoin should be the cryptocurrency for the metaverse. And I was like, that's the most retarded shit I ever heard.
Yo, even I gotta laugh at that shit. Like, is that a real comment? Like, do they not know what the fuck a metaverse is? Like, you gotta actually be able to use the fucking money. First of all, you need this shit to work, right?
Well, like I was only attacking the Bitcoin part and going off the premise that, okay, this whole metaverse thing, let's just assume this hype for the metaverse is real. So I was giving them that.
I mean, it's all bullshit.
But I agree with you. I agree with you completely. We did a stream a little while ago on MOT Today where I was breaking down what the metaverse is, and I'm like, we're in it right now, guys.
Yeah, basically, that's right now. Like, you wake up, you go to work for fake money. What do you call that?
Exactly. Like, there's no difference between.
That's not real. You don't get to make any choices. How the fuck is that real?
Exactly. But the point I was getting at with the Bitcoin is, I pointed out, the fact that it wouldn't be used because the transaction times are super slow.
Correct. That's my point. You got to be able to use it.
Exactly. It's super slow. Like anybody who's actually transacted sizable chunks of Bitcoin, which I used to be a Bitcoin maxi, right? So like I used to have, quite a few Bitcoin. And when I would send decent portions of money from one address to another, it would take some time and you would get this feeling in your stomach like, did I just lose all that money? I haven't got a confirmation, like it was a little sketchy, right? But so I added that, and then I was like, and also, do you not know that there isn't a fixed amount of Bitcoin? Like, do you not understand that yet?
Pretty important.
Miners can change it, And not only that, but what if there's an inflation bug, another inflation bug, like there already
Right.
been two? Like
All you know,
most people are unaware of that.
it's the funniest thing. You know, Bitcoin is one of those communities where it's okay to not know anything and just like it.
Right.
Like, what? Like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a bunch of fanboys. That's
I
pretty
mean,
much
yeah,
it.
literally, that's all it is. I mean, these people in general don't know a damn thing about Bitcoin.
Right.
Hexicans know more about Bitcoin than they do.
Right. 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 Which is a good sign for hexagons. It's a good sign for
Correct.
hex.
Correct.
You know, it's a
It's great
beautiful
for
sign.
us, sure,
E-
but it doesn't help
Exactly.
us in any way. It just shows us how ignorant everybody else is, and everybody doesn't even catch that.
Right.
So, again, it's not doing us any favors necessarily. However, it just goes to show where the future is going.
Hmm.
That's what I'll say about that. And to
Right.
me, that's obviously in a direction that we decide to take it. And that's going to be in the direction of Hex because that's how it
Hmm.
works.
Well,
Simple.
it just makes logical sense that hex
Sure.
would replace Bitcoin because
Correct.
Bitcoin's narrative now is store of value, and you don't get more Bitcoin for holding your Bitcoin. You
No,
don't
you
get
don't know.
incentivized for holding your Bitcoin. You have to
No, you
just
do not.
diamond hand it for these 80% dips, which we're probably going to see this bear market, right?
Sure
And
are.
so it's like you get no reward for doing that. And then,
Mm,
as everybody knows in the hex community, the miners are paid to dump it pretty
yes,
much,
they are.
like just so they can get their
I
electricity.
mean,
So,
it's all these red flags that exist within that system,
right.
and it's comical to still hear people calling this a scam 2 years later. It's like, are we
Yeah.
fucking serious? Like,
Right.
is this really still happening in 2022? Like, how many more data points do you need? We already have thousands, right? 760, 70 plus days multiplied by however many data points you want to talk about.
Hmm.
There's your dimension. There's your matrix of information. Like, let's talk. We got thousands of data points to select. What do you want to talk about?
Right.
Because then when you point people to the blockchain, they don't even say nothing. It's like, what the fuck? Do you not understand that that's actually what matters? Like, the blockchain, that's the receipt. Like, that's what actually matters. Like, shut up, go read, bye bye.
No, I mean it's really that simple too, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like I feel that people who try to be smart try to like understand
Oh,
really complicated
try is
things.
the fucking right word.
Exactly. They try to be smart and they only try to understand the most complicated concepts when like so for wrestling it's a really good way for me to explain this. So in wrestling,
Wrestling.
I used to wrestle, right?
Okay.
I wrestled in high
Ah,
school.
you mean like real wrestling? Got you.
Yeah, not WWE
Yeah,
shit, not the
no,
fake
no, no,
shit,
the real
like
shit. Yeah,
the real shit. So
yeah, yeah.
you know, what you would find is the better you got, you would just go back to the basics. You wouldn't do any of
Right.
the fancy shit. You would just
Nope.
stick to the basics. And the same
Correct.
is true once you become really knowledgeable in
And
something,
investing
you
in
just go
anything.
right back to the basics.
Investing is no different, sir.
Exactly.
I've been doing this for fucking over. I got a PhD in this nonsense, and I'm not rich.
Yeah.
So clearly, it's not as simple as it seems. And I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. But when you're exposing yourself, taking risks on a daily basis to the point where you don't realize that you're doing that, you're exposing yourself to risk on a daily basis. That's what you're doing, right? You don't realize that when you're day trading. You're just taking trades because you expect to make money. That is all. You never think about losing money. And that's a fact. Who sits here and thinks about losing money? Most people do not, right? Most.
Right.
Oh, you chopping up, brother.
But yeah, my internet here has been shoddy a little bit. It'll be here in a second, I'm sure.
All right, no worries. I'll keep yapping then.
Yeah.
I'll make it good though. So it's understanding things like that. Just the reality that most people just don't even find a way to dedicate themselves to anything. I think that's important to understand because when you sit there and you make a decision, you have to be okay with that decision, not somebody else. Don't be the person that's trying to follow trends and do all this craziness. Understand what's going on. That's the most important thing you can do is understanding. Because if you don't understand, whatever decision you make isn't going to be a good one anyway. Because you're not going to be okay with it. Simple as that. Because when risk comes your way, meaning something that you're not comfortable with, you're going to be feeling some type of way and you're going to be ready to close that position and take a loss. And that's all it's going to end up being. And why not avoid all that and just do your due diligence beforehand and not find yourself in that type of position where you're taking losses? Why do that?
Right. That was one of the big selling factors for me when it comes to Hex.
Hmm.
Was it was like, okay, so in a bear market, I can still make like 40% APY.
Yeah, there is no bear market.
So exactly, there is no bear. And if you're staked for 15 years, you're making what, probably hundreds of percent of APY. If
I got a
I'm
chart
not
for
even
that.
doing the math or anything,
I
but
got a chart for that, and it is 100. It's actually over 100% APY in hex terms and in dollar terms.
yeah,
So there you go.
it's
You're right.
it's wild, man.
Yeah.
That like as soon as I figured that stuff out when I was learning about Hex, I was like, damn, this is
No
it.
brainer.
Like, why even worry about any other crypto?
Yeah.
But until Richard Hart did his thing and created a whole freaking ecosystem,
Ecosystem, right?
right?
Kind of fucked that
But
up, didn't he?
exactly. But before we get into that, I really, really want to hear your take on what's been percolating in the crypto ecosystem as far as stable coins and the Fed. So I'm not sure if you've been reading any of this stuff,
Oh,
but
brother,
we've
I
been
talked
covering
about it
it.
a year ago, actually.
Okay, cool, cool. So
So
I
I'm
like to
tired
hear.
of
So
talking
like,
about it.
so my opinion on this is that it's gonna, like, everybody talks about this Bretton Woods, right? Like basically
Yeah.
like, long story short, the U.S. bullied their way to be the number one reserve.
Reserve currency, that's
Right.
right.
There was this big meeting with a bunch of dudes, and the U.S. just basically sold the USD, and everybody was like, all right, they won 2 wars. They're
We'll
badass.
take
They
it.
should do good.
Yeah,
So
we'll
let's
take
do
it.
it. Right. So, I mean,
That's the
obviously,
way
it's
they
a
write
lot
it
more.
anyway.
Right, right. And, there's a lot more shit. You could go down
Sure.
this deep rabbit hole to figure it out. But that's like a really concise, dumbed down version of what happened. And so, what I think is happening right now is, as a lot of people say, another Bretton Woods. But it's going to be not with Bitcoin. I don't even think it'll be with Hex. I don't think it's going to be with any of these real um, cryptocurrencies like Hex. I think what's going to happen, and I would like to hear your take on this, is the Federal Reserve will make a central bank digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
And that central bank digital currency, what they will do is peg it to a stable coin made by PayPal, made by Cash App, made by the fucking
Whoever they
USDC.
want, really.
Exactly. And then that's what's going to be the peg, is these stable coins will be the peg
Mm-hmm.
for the digital currency. That way they can just keep
Yeah.
printing.
I think you're giving them too much credit, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair
Uh,
enough. Let's hear what
I
you got to
think
say.
I mean, because let's be succinct here, right? I mean, we already have a digital currency,
Yep.
right? We've already had a digital currency since computers have existed, and we've been using them in the SWIFT system. And it's important that everybody understands that, because that means we've had one for at least 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because as far as I know, back in the 80s, they were using computers on Wall Street.
Mm.
So, not new. Important we understand that.
Mm.
The only difference between now and then is that then the majority of the money that existed was cash. Today, 97% of the money that exists as we keep track of it, which is important to understand, that's the key,
Mm-hmm.
is 97%, 98% digital, 2 to 3% physical. Okay, so these are important facts to understand when it comes to cryptocurrency, because guess what? They aren't gonna do all of that. They already got the dollar. Like, there's already a
Right.
digital yuan. There's already a
Right.
digital yen. They're gonna do a digital euro. Don't get it twisted. All these countries are gonna do their own digital currency, because that is what they do.
Hmm.
They fake. This is obvious when you see how Bitcoin gets pumped. All you got to do is look at what the stable coins are doing when Bitcoin is ripping, and you know what's going on.
Right.
They don't hide anything. It's just the simple fact of the matter that everybody that's already in this space, present day, doesn't know what people on Wall Street are going to know, i.e., people like me. And those people don't want to look this way just yet because they don't realize that they have to, because they don't
Hmm.
realize that they don't have a future where they're at right now, presently.
Right.
Everybody doesn't, everybody just isn't an early adopter, and I think that that's the biggest message we all have to take away from this
Hmm.
crypto business, right? Like, it's going to take time to conquer this world. It's not going to happen this year just because crypto.com fucking laced up the Staples Center for 20 years with its name. You
Right.
know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. It's going to take time. And I mean, hell, let's hope that the end of the 20 years for crypto.com isn't like it was for Staples Center, because nobody goes to an Office Max, to a Staples Center. Nobody goes to those places.
Right. Right.
So let's hope that that's not the case for cryptocurrency at the end of the 20-year contract, because that would suck.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I get what you're saying, but like,
Yeah, but I don't think it will
everybody,
be either.
you know,
But it's a
every
point that needs to be made, I
yeah,
think.
no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with what you're saying,
Because
and I
I'm
think
super bullish on. I think everybody knows I'm super bullish. If not, I'm one of the most bullish people in
right,
the space. Right.
right, yeah, I'm very bullish. I'm extremely bullish, and you make a really good point when you're talking about they already have digital currency.
Hmm.
That's something when I was talking to. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's a big truther. He's in Australia. His name is Tom Barnett.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I don't think I have actually.
I would look into him. He's a super smart guy, and he does mainly health. And so
Tom.
I've learned a lot from him when it comes to viruses. I'll just leave it as that.
Okay.
And
TOM.
yep, TOM. I have interviews on the channel with him, or you can
Okay,
just
I'll find
Google
him
his
then.
stuff.
No worries, I'll
Um,
find him.
yeah,
Good
he's
enough.
anyway. So we were talking about this, and he was asking me how things would go as far as the digital currency, and I said pretty much what you were saying. Like they already have, like most of our money's already digital, man.
Yeah,
Like
they don't have
it
to do
already is,
much. Yeah.
right? So I don't know. I think that I think some interesting stuff's going to happen, though. I still, I don't know. I like my little hypothesis.
I mean, anything could happen.
Right,
They could make a digital global fucking currency for all we know,
right,
and
right,
back it with all those currencies that you just talked about. It don't gotta be the dollar.
right, right. Exactly. And the thing that I also like to mention when we talk about this, because I am pretty deep in the truther community, and so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people in the truther community, as I'm sure you're aware, think that cryptocurrency is evil and that it's
Yep.
going to enslave us. But I'm trying to, and maybe you can help me here, voice that actually true crypto is one of the answers
It is
out
the
of this
answer.
slave system.
It's the only answer. What other one is there?
Oh, I think, well, I can think of one other one, and I think that's to
What
go
is
like
it?
the Amish.
Yeah, nah. I mean,
Yeah,
that it sounds cool, bro, but it ain't real. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Right? Like, I'm a very realist type of individual. Like, I'm not full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always gonna give it straight.
right, right.
And look, I love like, I love the idea of living off the land. But guess what? Everybody don't want to do that.
You're right.
Everybody wants to be comfortable. Everybody wants their little fucking, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the fuck they want.
Right,
And you gotta respect that. It's impossible to think that we can pretend to know what's best for everyone. I
hmm,
think fixing the money is the best thing that we as people of intelligence can do for society,
hmm,
right? Because clearly everybody isn't going to understand what the problems of today are. I mean, I got a super intelligent sibling of a sister, but when it comes to this shit, she is not on my level.
right,
Simple. And there's certain things that I'm not on her level on, and that's okay, right? We all have our roles to play in this world, and that's one thing we got to understand. So this is why, you know, don't think of leaving others behind. You're just ahead of them. You
right.
know, that's all. We can't help others to see what we see. And look, I'm the guy that spent years trying to force people to do just that. And look, I failed, and I think I'm pretty good at explaining shit. So I don't think it's
Mhm.
me.
It isn't. It really
Right,
isn't, man. No,
right.
like
And that's the thing.
Billy,
It's not. It can't be.
exactly. Like really, what I've come to understand as I've matured in my really what it is a spiritual awakening. Whether or not you want to go
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole, it really is a spiritual
No, no, no.
awakening.
I agree. I agree. I'm
And
not
so
religious. I never been, but I'll say
right.
I'm spiritual. That's for sure.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. And so like
Mhm.
what I've learned is I've progressed in my journey. Not to say I'm farther ahead to anybody else, but whatever you want to call
I
it,
mean,
you know,
it's a one-to-one journey. I don't think
it
it's
is.
something that you do with others or
Yep.
you know in conjunction with others. I think what happens is just like we have this so-called mass psychosis. Or, maybe I shouldn't have
Mhm.
said that.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Just like we have this NPC movement at the moment. How about that? Um,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have the inverse here shortly because of everything that's happening to people that are NPC status,
Right.
right? Because there are a lot of people that are gonna pay the price for their inaction and just take towing the line.
Right. Right. And like one of the biggest things that I've learned, and just this wasn't even intended to get to this point in the conversation, but I do consider myself religious. I identify as a Christian, not as
Mm.
your stereotype Christian. I have a very let's just put it this way: for my taste of Christianity, I've been told at my church my former church, that I would go to hell for my questioning. I've been told that I was going to hell in Bible studies at my
So you're
home, at
not
my
really
own
a
home.
Christian per Christian rules, basically.
Right, right, exactly. So, like, just to lay that down, like, so I'm way,
That's funny.
like,
Y-
way
y-
out there
But,
when it
but you
comes to my
see,
beliefs.
right? And this is my point. This is why I look. I don't shit on people for wanting to believe whatever they want.
Right.
However, I will shit on people for not using their brain. And this is why I can't shit on you for wanting to believe what you want to believe, but yet you still opt to use your brain.
Yeah, yeah. I've never. Well, I mean, that's what, in my opinion, God has given us the logic for. You
Well,
look at the
think.
etymology of logic. It's logos. It means the word. It means to reason. It
That's
means
right.
logic. And so
Literally.
it's a
To reason.
God-given gift.
That's
Exactly.
right.
It's a God-given
No
gift, in
other
my
no
opinion.
other biped can do what we do.
Right.
No other animal on this domain, in this domain, no other being, let me rephrase, in this domain can do what we do. No other
Right.
physical being. Very
Yeah.
important to understand. I think the closest is what, a dolphin.
Yeah. Dolphins are pretty smart. Whales are pretty smart. They have
Hmm.
their own culture, their own language.
I think
Very
that's
conscientious. Whales are.
it.
So
Right. I
yeah,
think that's
like
it.
yeah. And it's funny. We'll have like these conversations. Some of my buddies and I, like, what would you like to come back as if you were reincarnated? And I'm
Right.
always like, a human, a fucking human.
Yep.
Let me be
I kind
nothing
of
else
like
but a
being
human.
me. Thanks.
Right. Right.
What?
But the point I was making with all of that is basically people need to just come to their own realization of these spiritual truths on their own. You
Yeah.
can't hold their
Can't
hands
force them.
to it.
Nah. No
Exactly.
matter
I've
how much
tried
you
doing
want.
it. I've tried like using logic, tried using emotion. I've
Nope.
tried using all different tactics, right?
Yeah.
Dialectic,
Doesn't
rhetoric.
work.
None of it works. It's like it has to be on their own term. And
Hmm.
I feel that the same thing is taking place with cryptocurrency, in all honesty.
Yes, sir.
People people like understand that they need money, and they understand that money is digital, and they understand that people back in the day used to be fearful of putting their credit card information online.
Yes.
They all get that stuff, but for whatever reason their blinders are on. Most people, it seems, when it comes to innovation, it's like they ignore innovation right in their face. And I think, as Crypto Heartbeat has stated, we're living in a time with the probably going to be the greatest innovator of our lifetime, and that's Richard Hart. you know he's like the Henry Ford of our generation, I would say. And a lot of people don't even realize that right now. So it's somewhat analogous to that spiritual awakening, I would say.
I have to 100% agree because even though I'm like known as one of the people that have been around for a while, it took me a while to wrap my head around understanding the big picture.
Hmm.
And this is why people listen to me today. It's not because I'm Bitcoin rich, right? It's
Right.
because I can speak to my past mistakes and not wanting to understand,
Hmm.
right? And this is what I think is important because look, it's just like you said. I mean, it's not like the people we know are stupid or incompetent.
Hmm.
That's not the case, clearly. So what in the hell is going on that these people do not want to recognize this? And I think it's the fact that they have to put forth effort after thinking that they have succeeded in life to some degree.
Yep, that's exactly
Honestly,
right.
I honestly think that that's what it is. I think as a psychological block, because until I decided to do something different, until I realized that I needed to do something different, better yet, um, only then did I find Hex. And I was already making and losing money. It's not like I really needed it, so to
Hmm.
speak. You know what I mean? Like, sure, Hex is great. Don't get me wrong. It's made my life infinitely easier. So now I can speculate how I like to speculate in my fashion. And that's exactly what you want from life. What you want.
Right.
Duh.
Right.
Right? But that's the point. And I think people kind of are very wary of that reality. Like they don't really see that,
Hmm.
and I think that being able to see that is so critical. Where do you get the idea that you have reached success? What does that look like for you? It took me a while to figure that out, and it really wasn't until I found Hex that I knew what it would look like because I'm doing it now.
Right.
Like I have found a way to be able to set myself up for my future such that I can take time to think of what I can do to contribute to my fellow Hexican community, which is
Hmm.
going to help progress everybody's lives that they can touch because I'm helping them secure their future financially, legally, and in every other way that's beneficial to us because this is what we need. And that's something I've always wanted to do. Period. Now, what's next is helping everybody else. And you know what? It's not free. So we're
Right.
gonna need these mad gains to make that happen. And once and this is the thing. The early adopters are the only ones that can think like this.
Hmm.
It's not gonna be people on fucking Wall Street. It's not gonna be some institution. It's not gonna be some foundation. Like, wake the fuck up. You expect people that watch fucking TV to pick this up? You're out your mind. You have no fucking clue what's going on. You just got
Right.
lucky too,
Right.
clearly, because
Yeah.
you're not paying attention. And I'm sorry to say it, but that's what it is. I mean, what else can it be? Let's be honest, man, for 2 seconds, right? Like, what can it be? Like, yo, we've been at this grind for a while, right? And financial freedom has never been so sweet until Hex.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
know,
there is. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
no, no, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I mean, there's not many endeavors out there that you can lay out that work this well. No effort,
Yeah.
almost. You know.
Yeah, man. And I have to say that like while I'm not like financially free, it's quote unquote, I don't have millions in the bank or anything like that. Ever since I did find Hex and I've, switched all my investments pretty much into that, I do feel a sense of relief because I'm like, you
Shit,
look at,
yeah.
my T shares, do more work than my wife and I. I'll just put it that
Right.
way, man. It's like,
Damn right.
it's like I'm cool. I'm cool as long as the internet doesn't crash. Even if the internet does crash, most people don't even know that you still can transact
Yeah.
cryptocurrency
Yeah.
without the internet. Most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is that most people aren't going to use it, so it's still going to be
Yeah.
rendered obsolete. But if you want to get really nerdy and you have a
You
lot
can
of
still
nerdy
use it.
friends,
The
you
value
can
still
still use it.
exists. It's not non-existent.
Exactly. Exactly. But like I do feel a sense of security financially because I'm like, dude, it's outpacing me. It's outpacing what I
That's
can do.
right. That's right. That's
So,
right.
it's
I mean, I
and then
think
the other
that's important.
projects.
I think that's important, right? I mean, this is what we all look for. We
Yeah,
all look for that thing that allows us to leverage time. We all are looking for it.
right.
I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And this is what I think is wrong with people in general. I think they think it's supposed to be this magical thing that they're supposed to discover in some type of magical way. I don't honestly know, but there is a block that does
Mhm.
not allow people to want to believe that hex is a thing. How do I
Yeah,
know? Well, shit, I see it often because I try to show many people. Hell, I try to show my boss. I mean, and even I'm sure he went to Google, did a quick search, and didn't like what he found. 100% sure of it, because we never talked about it since.
you know what I did? So at my job, I ended up buying that DeFi guide Hex, that
Hmm.
book that you can
Yeah,
get on Amazon. I bought like I think like 6 or 7 copies. They're really cheap. They're like $6.
yeah, yeah.
And
They are cheap. I think they're like $5 actually.
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
But
they're real
anyway,
cheap.
super
Anyway,
cheap.
anyway, anyway. Yeah,
And so I bought a bunch of them, and I was like, I'm just going to start handing these out to people because I know a few people who enjoy reading, and I'm like, well, as opposed to saying Google Hex, why don't you
right.
read this book? It looks more professional. It looks like it isn't a scam, and then you get
Yeah,
to understand what DeFi is because it does give a good brief introduction. I read the book, and it's like, okay, cool.
something to
This is
consider.
this is good. So I started giving it to people at my job. I gave it to a couple family members. I haven't heard anything about it yet, but
They probably
I'm
ain't read
hoping,
shit.
you know. So
Like people be
that
too
was my
busy,
new
man.
onboarding tactic. I was
Yeah.
like, let's try that.
Yeah, it's one thing I've noticed that we can try to leave things in people's hands sometimes, and you know, we like to think that they're capable as us, but even if they are, they don't want it as bad as we think.
Yeah,
I mean, they really don't.
yeah,
Um, and even if they do, you might turn them off to it
hmm,
because you're so ahead of them, and they might feel like they can never catch up. I mean, yo, you just gotta understand, like the mind plays tricks on people in devious ways when they're not clear about their intention. And I think that that's where we all burn time. I know I
hmm,
personally did that for a long time where I wasn't focused on what I was trying to do. I wasn't diligent in my intentions, right? And this caused me to waste time and not make the progress that I wanted to see in my life, right? And these are the kind of things that we got to be, honest about, man. Like you make all this money, you're gonna lose it if you're not honest with yourself.
right,
That's a fact. And people do not appreciate that enough. And it's going to be sad because people are going to learn that lesson the hard way. And that's what we would like to avoid. Honestly, that's why I take my time and stream for hours on end. I do not do it for any other reason because I know getting rich there's no secret to that shit, man.
right. Yeah,
Nobody's
and I,
out
and
here
I think
selling it. Right?
right, and I think that I want to touch on one thing, then something else. So going back to like why people don't get into it, I think the biggest reason people don't get into crypto, don't get into hex, is because they don't trust themselves enough to take care of their finances entirely.
You might be
They have a
right there.
lack of belief in themselves, which is sad. And I think that cryptocurrency gives you a certain confidence because you're like, if I fuck up, it's on me.
Yeah.
I can't call the bank and be like, hey, can you rewind that transaction? I sent it to the wrong, unless you have
There is
Tether,
no
right?
rewind.
Unless you
Yeah.
have Tether, then maybe they'll rewind the transaction
Right.
for you. You know, like, or they'll block your account, whatever. But
Whatever they do over there.
exactly. So I think that's a big part of it. People don't trust themselves enough.
You might be right, man. You might be
You know,
right. I mean, one thing is for sure, time is going to tell because we are reaching a point in time where people's finances are no longer secure.
yep.
No matter what they did in their past, their financial future is not secure. And that's a reality that damn near every American has to contend with. And this is the whole point, right? Like this has been like one of my big drives in life, and learning all of these things that I've learned and taken the time to learn. Because let me tell you, all these things that I've done streams on that I know most people don't understand, I know one day they will, and that's what counts. Because the people that want to understand it, man, they're never gonna stop learning, just like I never stopped.
Right.
Simple. And it's right there for the day they want to fucking learn it properly. Because that's what it's about, man. It's easy to find information. It's difficult to find good information,
Yep.
right? And I think that that's critical, right? Because yo, the internet is full of information. How much of it is worth anything?
Right. Right.
Good
There's a bunch
question.
of nonsense on there.
That's right.
You know, like, and I want to make this point really quick too. A lot of people complain, Richard Hart just got rugged. I've said that we've been censored for a week on YouTube and all this stuff, but people like to complain about censorship. But what most people don't understand is that this is the least amount of censorship ever. If you go back
This is
100
true.
years,
This is true.
yeah, if you go back 100 years when there was only two newspapers, do you think they were telling you the real news?
Nah,
You think
ain't
you
no
were
fucking
getting
way.
exactly? And so your odds of getting real news have increased because there's so many avenues to disseminate this information,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people take it for granted.
Yes,
And
that's very true.
most people don't think about that shit. Like, yeah, we can complain about censorship, we can complain about all these things, but understand that the internet is a very powerful tool, and the powers to be, the worst they can do is shut it all down. But if they shut it all down, that's stupid too, because then they're screwed.
That's right.
Because then the people, they have a revolt on their hands and they have to control that. So it's not ideal for them to shut it down either. So it's like
Negative.
the best thing they can do is try to monitor it. But even then, you have really smart people who can circumvent their
That's right.
roadblocks.
They
So it's like,
literally live between a rock and a hard place, bro.
what was that?
They literally live between a rock and a hard place.
They do. They do.
They have to.
It's not
The
fun.
internet.
Like, a lot of people like appear to be jealous of the so-called elite. I don't think they're elite, by the way.
They're not fucking elite. No, they're fucking
They're not.
shitheads.
I think that more. I hate that, like, that word elite, because there gives like this like
They gave it to themselves, clearly.
well, exactly. I mean, like, did you see that one World Economic Forum? I think
Yes,
it
I
was the
did.
video.
The
Where they were
lady,
like, the elite.
the lady.
Yeah.
How they're applauding themselves, basically,
Right. Pretty much.
and then saying, "But everybody else hates us." What the fuck, guys?
Right. So I really think that like, I've went through the fear as a conspiracy theorist, if you will,
Mhm.
that, oh my God, there's going to be FEMA camp someday. But now I'm over here like, that's all in your head, man. That's all in your head. Like, you can do so many things to avoid it. And as we mentioned, cryptocurrency is one. And I would argue that there's a whole other path if you're willing to really humble yourself and detach yourself from materialism. But there's also a path where you can combine the two, I believe, which is the path that I've sort of am taking myself, where I'm like, well, there is a path where you can become self-sufficient as far as like agriculture or permaculture goes, but you can also have a lot of money. Like,
Right.
why can't you have
You
both?
should be able to do both. That's right.
Exactly. And so that's my goal. Like, I want to be able to homestead, be self-sufficient. I want to be able to own like a butcher, a grocery store, like I think that the future. Well, here's what I think is some alpha. Permaculture is the future, guys. Like, people are going to be moving out into the country again in masses, and I think a lot of people in crypto should take a lot of their gains and do that. That's my opinion. If you really want to do a good reset and take control of things, you have to then put into work. You have to then put the shovel in the dirt.
You have to literally stake your claim.
Exactly.
In the
Literally.
land. Living in a box is not how you do it.
Nope.
It's just not. This is why these cities exist, because people came here, bought the land up, and then they suckered everybody else here.
A lot of people don't know this or haven't even thought about this. So, are you hip to the idea that they're trying to destroy the nuclear family?
Yep.
How do you get to the nuclear family?
By everything that they're doing. Literally, they're doing everything to destroy it. Literally.
But there
And
has to be a starting point, right?
sure, but the thing is that there's so many different cultures that it was
Mhm.
never just one thing.
Right. And so this is the point that I'm making though with this. This is why I asked the question. It's not a trick question or
Sure,
anything.
sure, 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 sure.
It's
Make
like,
a point. I'm definitely curious.
so how do they destroy the nuclear family? How do you get to the nuclear family? Well, first, you have to divide family and make a nuclear and a extended. So you have to divide family within itself.
All right.
Nobody pays attention to that. And then what do you have to do after that? Well, then you have to say, go away from your extended family and then go away from your nuclear family. When did that happen in the United States? During the Industrial Revolution, when everybody left the farm and
Yep.
left all that generational wisdom, left all that generational wealth, true wealth, which is
Came to
family and
cities.
community. And then they went to the cities. And then they made less money, less culture, less community, less wealthy. And
That's
then they
everything.
became exactly. And they became completely dependent on the state as time went on. And most people don't point like, I think a lot of our issues started in the Industrial Revolution. That doesn't mean that I'm against the technology. Obviously, I'm for technology. There's a lot of benefits to it, but there's a lot of compromise that people have made through the generations. And I think that the way this all started was from when people left the farm. I think it's really that simple, man.
You know, it's interesting. I've actually had that realization probably a decade ago. When I
Yeah.
first started learning about economics, there's this one book that I have. It's called The History of Economics, and it goes probably all the way back to, I want to say, at least the 15th, 16th century. I mean, I've read this thing multiple times, right? So I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. And you're 100% correct, because that is exactly when families started segregating
Yep.
themselves into locations that were not where they grew up. I mean, just look at how, when you come to a city, right? Like, let's look at a coal mining city from the early 1900s, right? Late 1800s. What you find are extremely sizable houses, right? That fit large families. That was what those houses were for. But what happened? Now they're split. They hold like three, four fucking families, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not for one family. Like, they're extracting rent from that property at best. Somebody is, if not the original family. Like, that's what's actually happening. And if it's an original family, odds are it's in pretty piss poor condition because they don't care enough to maintain it because it's just that house. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
old house. Like, and that's just how it goes. Um, and you have to understand the whole historical landscape to really understand all of these nuances, right? Like, it's a weird thing, right? Because how many people can have this perspective and elaborate on it? Probably only the people that can even have this perspective. Because
Mm-hmm.
how else do you come to it? Is by reading all of this stuff. That's the only way. And understanding the difference between then and now. There's no other way.
Right.
Seeing how people are living, reading how people lived, like true accounts, not popular accounts, true accounts, right?
Right.
Which makes things very distinct because there is no hiding in that aspect. And that's important because this is one thing that people do not do. They do not go seek true accounts of information.
Mm-hmm.
They rely on popular sources, and that's why so many people get left behind.
And you should know this because you have a PhD. Most people don't know how to do proper research. And when you're doing proper research on a topic, you look for primary documents, which is what you're referring to. You
I
look
don't
at,
I don't actually have a PhD. I was gonna get one,
oh, okay.
but nah, I decided against it, bro. I got better things to do
Fair
with
enough. That was a smart
my time.
move. Smart move.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I was
100%.
I was on my path to law school. Like I was going to
Mm.
Case Western University here in
I still
Ohio, and
battle
it's
with that one, man, because I just really love it, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough one.
yeah.
It's a
Especially
tough
now with
sale.
crypto, I was
Hmm.
like, man, I could have really utilized that degree, but the debt wasn't worth it.
No,
I'm big against
exactly.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm big
100%.
against that.
That's the
I
reason I've never gone.
right.
Not worth
Yeah,
it. Like,
I don't blame you,
it would
man.
have to be, you get like a 180, 170 and up, right? And
Right.
somebody offers you a full ride
Right.
if you're good enough. Like that's the only way it's even worth it.
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
then again, if you're trying to get into like a Harvard or a Yale law school, you got to get a 179, a 180, a
Yeah. You got to
178.
bust perfect.
Right, right. So like, and then they probably won't even give you a full ride if you try to go to one of those
Nah,
top tiers
highly
because
doubt it.
everybody there is getting a 178. Everybody there has an IQ of like 130. So it's like, why are you any special? You're average
Right.
here.
Yeah,
So
you are. Which is
um
interesting, right?
it really is. It really is. But that was my whole goal, man. Like I was going to, like I said, Case Western. I was going for history, and dude, I learned while I was there how to research properly, which was like one of the best skills that I could learn
Yep.
from school. But aside from that, I was like, dude, this is useless. Like I can make the same amount of money if I'm just really good in another area without a degree. Like
Yep.
I have a different perspective than a lot of people when it comes to that because both of my parents were high school dropouts, right?
Mm,
Both of my parents got GEDs, and my dad, before he became this entrepreneur that he is now, he owns real estate, a couple of businesses in Michigan, and he's doing really well for himself. But before that, he was like in middle upper management in like a Fortune 500 company
right.
with no fucking college, with no college degree and no high school degree. Like
Wow.
people don't understand. Like if you're truly
Rare.
smart and you put in the work, you're good, man. Like you
Yeah.
don't need these educational systems. And my mom, she's technically an engineer where she works, right? And like she just
Wow.
has a GED. And so like, it's like I came from a different perspective. Like, okay, if you're just
Sure.
really smart, like and by smart, like I'm not saying like IQ. Like I think there's a difference between being smart and having a high IQ. Um,
Yeah, you gotta have the
yeah,
ability to think, like on your feet.
right, right, exactly. So like, and if you just put in the work, so I went in there with that perspective, but I was driven by my parents to go to college and everything, and so I did like most people do. And then I was like,
Naturally.
I was like, okay, well, I don't have any debt right now, and if I go to law school, I'm going to get like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So let me just do something else. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. So I've been, just working and like I think you said that you were a mechanic.
Yep.
I've been
Used to be a
working in the
mechanic.
automotive field for a long
Mm,
time, and just getting into crypto, man. And I think that's what I think it's more important for kids these days to learn about crypto, learn
mhm.
about blockchain, learn how that stuff works, as opposed to focusing on a college degree. Quite honestly.
100%. It's interesting when I'm around my nieces and nephews. I don't even talk to them about shit at that age level. Not interested.
Yeah.
You need to learn about what's going on right now.
Right.
You need to understand what your future is going to look like. I'm that guy that's going to talk to your kids about taxes and how fucking much they suck because they need to understand that they suck.
Yeah.
The kids are the future.
This is
So
true.
we need to do our job and educate them. And people think, that's sour. Nah, man, that's reality. I had to
Yeah.
learn all these things the fucking hard way, and it sucked. If you educate kids the right way ahead of time, our future will be completely different. But if we just sit here and let people do what the fuck they want to do, it's gonna look just like it looks now, shittier.
You're right. You're right. My kids are lucky. They got a few 555 steaks, so it's like,
Nice.
they're gonna know about this shit as they get older.
Yeah, hundred
Um,
percent, bro.
but let's talk a little bit about PulseX because that's
Mm,
still a very I think I think it's very nascent to a lot of people. A lot of people have not dabbled in liquidity pools, have not dabbled in automated market makers and crypto
hmm
space. So I think I think it would be amiss of us if we did not talk about that at all after speaking for almost an hour here. Um, but let's talk about that a little bit, man. So
Sure thing.
you want to explain it a little bit to people?
Sure. So PulseX is basically going to be the automated market maker on the Pulsechain ecosystem. Basically, what it is. So what's going to happen when the fork does occur? All the liquidity in the Ethereum system state that block height, which is the current present block, is gonna then be forked over to Pulse Chain, and then Pulse Chain will be launched. And from that point forward, it will be Pulse Chain, and then Pulse X will be the location where you go instead of going to Uniswap. You will go to Pulse X, and that will be where you will conduct your transaction. And now let's talk about the tokenomics because that's typically the most important thing.
Yep.
Um, Well, with this coin, while you won't be able to stake it, there will be an ability to yield farm, right? Provide liquidity, and think those two items, at least of now. As of now, we know those two items will be doable. We don't know what the ramifications are going to be to earn the reward coin. As far as geofarming goes, because there is no ecosystem yet to look at.
Mhm.
Um, there is a test net for the bridge. Oh, look, you got the tokenomics up. Great.
Yep,
I
this is
was
from
just
K4K Crypto, so shout out to
nice.
him.
I was just gonna go off the brain, but that's cool too. Yeah. So, um, it's we're basically recreating our own ecosystem over here, and the reason is
Mhm.
because Ethereum has decided not to take into account the average individual that might want to engage in cryptocurrency. At present moment, in order to do any transactions on Ethereum, it's kind of out of reach for the average person. I mean, they would have to, if not allocate 25 to 50%, maybe even 75% of their initial capital to just the cost of getting the transaction done. And that's clearly unacceptable.
Mhm.
So a lot of people are getting left behind, and this is the actual newest wave for the future. A lot of people need this, right? So a lot of people need to get it. And that's a lot of what we're doing in many cases is just onboarding people, educating them, explaining to them what a cryptocurrency is, what it looks like, why these are actual cryptocurrencies relative to the others. It's as simple as the first line of the abstract in the Bitcoin white paper. It's not that hard. Just a coin that doesn't primarily trade on a centralized exchange. That's it.
Mhm.
That's the definition, not rocket science. So all these centralized exchanges in crypto, while they've been utile, they're now a problem because that is where cryptocurrency users are being targeted. That
Mhm.
is a choke point, unfortunately. So our hope is that through time we are able to extract those bad actors from this system because we need to purge them. If not, this space is not going to grow. We're going to
Right.
be restricted by the powers that be because they can restrict us through those channels. No questions asked. They control them. Period. How else do they have they been able to get this big and they're applauded and put forward and all of a sudden you have all these sponsorships all over the place. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
Right. So understand the game, understand the big picture. Um, Now, cryptocurrency, again, in its true form, is very important for the future because it's how we're going to succeed. If we don't take cryptocurrency
Mhm.
seriously, we are going to lose and we're going to get stuck in the current position
Right.
that we're at, right? So this is important. So let's get into these tokenomics. So here's a trade scenario. So it's taking into account $10,000 trade, right? Pays network gas for your pennies worth PLS, right? If you don't know, go to the scan testnet V2, right, for Pulsechain. Look at the transaction fees, right? I mean, it's beats is the way equivalent for Pulsechain. And you'll know that it's at least 5 beats per transaction. That's the most I've seen.
Which is
Um,
essentially free, by the way.
yeah, I mean, you're paying
Right.
fractions of a cent,
A penny.
literally
Yeah.
fractions of a cent. So you're not paying anything. Doesn't matter the size of the transaction. You're not paying anything. That's important to understand because after we break this trade scenario down, you're going to understand how bullish this is for PLS and PLSX because they both have similar tokenomics. It's just that instead of it being 29 basis points, which is what you're seeing here in PLS, it's 21 basis points. So it's the same math. I don't think there's a buy and burn feature in PLS though. I don't remember.
No, there isn't, but it is
There isn't.
deflationary.
It's deflationary, right?
Yep.
So either way, you at least got 21 basis points being bought out of the system, right? So important to understand. Um, so that's $29 on a $10,000 trade. So multiply that by millions, then that becomes 29,000. If you amp that up to billions, then it becomes 29 million of that coin being bought up in dollar terms, right? So it's not signifying a specific amount of PLSX or PLS. It's just signifying a dollar value amount. So it's important we understand that. So as you can see, the difference here is that we're looking at PLSX on the screen right now. If it was just PLS, it would only be 10,000. It would be that fourth line. It would be
Mhm.
10,000 multiplied by 0.21%, which would equal $21. That would be the end of the graphic for PLS. So it's important we understand that. But for PLSX, we have all these additional factors going in because of the type of coin that it is and the utility that it's representing. Right? It's representing utility for a trading exchange that's decentralized. So it's going to have a whole ecosystem in line with that scenario. And that ecosystem is going to need all of these other elements tied to it. That's why they're there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a part of the equation. So I think it's important that we take that into account, right?
Mhm.
Because all of these things are important factors when we're taking into account a cryptocurrency investment. We want to understand where this value that's being extracted from the system is going, because this is how we can really tell the fundamentals of a coin. It's not by just liking it and the fucking logo being cool. Like that shit only lasts but so long.
Right.
Like we got to understand that as a community, right? Like we want big money, we want to change the world. Well, we got to understand what's going to take us there. And that's not, playing games, right? That's simply being aware of what reality is in terms of where value comes from. And it's from understanding how it's generated, right? I think that's crucial because it's very easy to get swept up in chasing gains. I get it, I've done it. But it's important to understand not all money is good money. And when you
Mhm.
chase bad money, there's a price for that. There's a price to be paid. So let's be clear on that, right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
look at all those factors, right? You got uh 29 plus 6 plus 1 and then $33. Well, I can't remember what that last item is. Uh,
let's see.
see if you can scroll that up. Yeah, it looks like you can move it.
No, that's a screenshot I took. So I took a messed up
Uh,
screenshot. Sorry, everybody.
yeah, it's pretty
But
crappy.
this is
Well,
on this. It says 75.86, I believe, percent.
yeah, I don't remember where that chunk goes, but that's
Yeah.
33 bucks sent somewhere else.
Well, this is off of K4K Crypto's latest video explaining the buyback. I mean the buy and burn. And
But
this is the
yeah, I
the
forget where that's. Where is
yeah.
that
So my
information?
bad, guys. That's a bad screenshot
No
of my
worries, no
part.
worries. I'm trying to find that information. Hold on, because I know it's somewhere. I just haven't looked at it in a while.
So yeah, but like the biggest thing that made me super bullish on PLX is the buy and burn. It's like
Yeah,
why you don't need to risk your money to be a liquidity provider to in permanent loss or anything like that if you just buy PLX and you just let the system do its thing. Just do the buy and burn.
yep.
Like it's
I mean, look,
crazy.
that's just for one trade,
Right. Right.
right?
And so, you and this is where value I know a lot of, Hexakins and Richard Hart has, reamed against worrying about volume. But now if you're in PLX, if you're a sacrifice of PLX, volume means something to you because you're
Well, you're
you're
creating
like
an ecosystem now, right?
right,
So it's a little different.
exactly.
But I think the important thing we got to keep in mind here is that we want quality users in this ecosystem because in order for it to grow, you got to have people that are constantly making money. It's not
Right.
going to grow by marketing efforts and fucking scamming people like these other exchanges do. Like, that's not the way to grow, right? I mean, we want people talking about this and coming over here and making money and talking about it to somebody else and them coming over here and making money because that is going to take this shit parabolic, right? I mean, look at those brands that we all know well and love that are known as luxury brands. They don't got to market to us.
Nope.
We know they exist, right?
When's the last time you saw a Lamborghini commercial on your TV?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen one, or a
Exactly.
Ferrari commercial, or a Aston Martin commercial, or anything that is luxury. I have not seen it in a commercial.
Nope. Because it doesn't need to. I mean, it
Doesn't
already
need it.
has. the brand awareness where it matters.
Exactly.
And that's what we're hoping to work towards with this
Correct.
ecosystem. Like,
Correct. I mean, when everybody understands what a cryptocurrency is supposed to be, right, and how important it is for them to respect their pocket and take
mhm,
into account that what they think is good money is bad money, and that look at the chart versus that chart. Like they're not making money over there. They're just making some quick gains and then they lose it because this is a sell off every time that pump happens. It doesn't just keep pumping, right? And that's important. That's not a joke. That's real,
right,
right? I mean,
yeah,
this
you
is
know,
really happening real time. Like this happens all the time.
it does. And right now, a lot of us are in a unique position to be on the ground floor of a new ecosystem.
That's right.
And
Very
I
unique.
feel that a lot of people, and maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel a lot of people are either taking it for granted or don't really understand what the hell they're in. Like, I feel that there's going to be a lot of sell off. Let me just preface with this. I am very bullish with PLX and PLS, and obviously with Hex. But I think that we're going to see a large sell off in both of them quickly as soon as you see like a 10x, a 20x, because a lot of people just don't understand what they're in. You
I
know,
would agree 100%. I'd be surprised if it was only a 10 or a 20x though. But
yeah, I
I
was
get your
just pulling
point.
a number
I
out of
make
my
it. You
ass.
made the point. You made the point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
I agree, and I agree. But my point is like it's gonna be insane because people are gonna let all these X's go. But you're 100
yeah.
percent correct. We don't know exactly when they're gonna sell, but rest assured these motherfuckers are gonna sell.
Yeah, and so I mean, the people who are listening here, I mean, the audience is not the biggest, but the audience that we've gathered here today and who are listening, like, if you're in these projects at the ground floor, understand that there's so much potential for growth, and we're doing something really big here. I mean, just look at what Uniswap does, and Uniswap, I mean, it works well.
Oh yeah,
It does what it does. It does what it's supposed to do well. But we're
100%.
making, PulseX is better than that. It just shows that it's better than. I mean, it is forking over the code, but there are tweaks to it that I think that make it the best DEX, the automated market maker around.
Right, just like we're
Um,
forking Ethereum, and it's gonna be the best blockchain out. I mean,
right.
in V1 of the testnet, average block time was 4.5 seconds.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's 3 seconds.
And we're Pulsechain isn't it 4 times fast? Are you talking about Pulsechain?
I'm
Okay.
talking about Pulsechain, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
It
At
was
first
four
I
and
was
a
like,
half.
okay.
It
Yep.
was 4.5 seconds. Now it's 3 seconds. So when
Yeah,
you
that's
enter your
wild, man.
transaction, you better know what you just entered because that shit gonna be gone. You
You
know what
know,
I'm saying?
the only reason the only reason I started venturing out into these other blockchains during the bull market, and I may get ridiculed for this. I, I like NFTs. I think NFTs have a spot in the future. I think a lot of them right now are garbage, and a lot of people won't tell you this, but Richard Hart does. But a lot of them are on IFPS servers. They're on interplanetary file servers, which means that they're not on the blockchain. And you actually read into these NFT projects and they tell you that, but then they'll market it as if they're on the blockchain and it's immutable, but it's
Right.
not. So like, don't get scammed. But I do think that there are a lot that NFT technologies has a lot of potential. And I totally forgot where I was going with that, so I apologize.
All good. I just think they're receipts. I think they're receipts. I think they're not gonna ever be much more than that because they don't play a nexus on a blockchain.
Yeah.
They're just something that's on a blockchain because there's some different type of thing, and once that thing is
Mhm.
recorded, it's just tied to some address. That's
Right.
all. It's not anything that excuse me. Um it's not anything earth shattering. There's all kinds of things that are ERC something, right? Like
Right.
it's not just ERC 20s.
Right. We got Squids Only here saying next bull run. Holy crap. I'm thinking swimming pool with a whale and the tiles at the bottom. There you go. That sounds
Nice.
pretty dope.
Nice. Yeah, it does. I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
Maybe
you'll
you
be
need
able to
one.
afford it, that's for sure.
Right, right.
I mean, from big payday low, which is early December is when I call it, which is right before I started running up, December 7th or so, all the way to the top in September 14th, 19th, whenever the top was made. That was 167x, man. 167x in hex. And this was after big payday, which was an event that's been straight selling just like this one has been.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we've seen for the past 60, 90 days at this point. Right? Like people just
Yeah.
been selling, 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 selling. And hey, at the same time, all the selling has been getting bought up. Supplies getting distributed. People are eating it up. Right?
Yeah. And they're
So,
leaving free money on the table too. I mean, they're
oh
getting
yeah,
a
plenty of
copy.
people are leaving free money on the table. I mean,
You're
look,
getting a copy of everything. Why? Why? Just
yeah,
hold it.
yeah. I don't get it. I mean, look, you want to sell, knock yourself out. But I do not understand why, and that's okay. It's not my job to.
Right,
But there's a problem there. Like
right.
you're leaving so much money on the table. Like right now, let's talk about PulseX sacrifice. Like
Mhm.
I think today you're still getting 5,000 per dollar. That's still pretty
Yeah,
damn good, right? So if you haven't sacrificed yet, man, don't wait. Get that shit in there. Stop
yeah.
playing because you're still getting 5,000 PLSX points per dollar to make your statement that you respect freedom of assembly and movement. So make it happen.
Hmm.
Sacrifice, do not wait because you want those PLSX points. They're important. Those PLSX points are going to give you access to the future. These are things you got to understand because the future is not always now. So,
Right. Yeah, I've been, MOT, we've been trying to get the word out with the PulseX sacrifice. We've
mhm.
been doing our parts on all our back channels on Telegram and Snapchat and all those things. And fortunately, we've gotten a few people to do so. So hopefully they are willing to hold it to watch the
Nice.
games truly appreciate. I
Right.
like the meme that's been going around lately that I won't hold for 2 or 3 years to get to retire, but I'll work for 40 years. I've been seeing that meme going around. Have
Yeah,
you been seeing that?
it's true.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, it's funny. Like 90% of my T shares are 15 years, man.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. I mean, I wish I would have did that initially. I now all my now every time I get into it, I'm doing 15 years. But
Right.
initially I was like, let
It
me
takes
do
a
a
while to get
year.
there. It takes a
Yeah,
while to
like
get there.
exactly. You had to figure it out. Like it's a
Yeah.
complicated system,
Yeah.
and there's still things that I've learned to this day. Like I'll message you, man. Like, hey, what does this mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Like
no, it's not easy. Look, I didn't make that decision until I knew that was a decision to make.
right.
Right? Like I literally waited months before I had a staking strategy. And when
Right.
I figured out what was the right staking strategy, which was having everything fucking tossed up to the rear, 5555, right? Once I realized that, I already had some stakes in the system. Everything else, I just was short staking, short staking, short staking.
Yep.
And it was with the anticipation that at some point I would understand how X worked. That was it. Once I figured it out, I made my decision, and that was all. There was nothing else to do. Like I got fucking 6-figure stakes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I'm not worried about it. Like that shit is out there, and that's
Right.
where it's supposed to be. Right? Like that's what's important for people to understand. I made the choice that I wanted to make.
Right.
So that's what you
And
got to
that
figure out. That's why you got to learn the system, right?
exactly because you can really use it to your advantage. Like that. I think when we had our last conversation with the when you were on Minds of Tomorrow, the podcast,
Mm,
you made a really good point that Hex there's optionality in Hex,
yeah,
and a lot of people will come to realize that later. But I think that when you're first getting into Hex, it's very exciting because the first thing that clicks in your mind, I think, for most people is this is revolutionary.
hmm
But then the next few things that click are, why it's revolutionary. Like
yes.
you
The
get that
why is so
intuition.
important.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's how it was for me. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, this is a game changer. But it took me like a week, to really dive in, which isn't even a long time to begin with. Like I'm
No,
still
it's
learning to this day.
not.
But I was like a week, that's all I thought about. That's all I researched for a week.
Right.
And I was like, all right, this is it. Like, I think I understand it. And the next thing you know, I'm still over here asking questions.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
but
not
I have a
easy.
staking, I have a staking ladder set up from 1 year to 15 years. But now everything's 15-year heavy. Like, everything I throw in there now is 15 years because
Yeah.
you said I understand the system. And it's like, well, not only that, but I have kids. So worst case scenario, let's say I don't live the 15 years. I
Right.
hope I do, right? But
Right. Right.
anything can happen. But then my kids will be set. Like, I know, like, my family is going to be set through those 15-year stakes or those 10-year stakes, right? And it gives you a lot of reassurance that financially the future will be okay. Like, I've talked to my wife. I'm like, you know what? Even if Hex price doesn't move, and let me preface with this before people want to get on me, I am very bullish on Hex, extremely.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Hex price doesn't move, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Like,
Right. You got to
I'm,
make your point because it's still
yeah,
generating yield, right?
exactly. Like, I'm still getting yield. I'll still make more out of that course of the 15 years than I would trying to earn anything in an IRA or a 401k. So it's like outpacing any retirement plan just from sitting there. So it's like, I'm really not worried about the price. I think a lot of the people that are worried about the price don't really understand Hex.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I 100% agree with that statement because that's a fact, right? I mean, this again, number one thing is cryptocurrency is software. Show me a software that runs 100% of the time. I'll wait because there's only one and I own it. So,
Right.
you know,
Well,
that's the key.
man, I've enjoyed talking with you, man.
Same here, brother.
There's been a lot of good info here. It's always a pleasure talking with you. I love your perspective, man.
Appreciate
You
it,
keep
brother.
it real, and I like that. I feel a lot of people don't do that these days. I feel like a lot of people bite their tongues, and so when I can find somebody who's similar to me in that regard, it's really fun. It's really fun to
Pleasure,
talk
man.
with you.
Always a
So,
pleasure, brother, because we need to keep these discussions going, right? We're not going
right,
to progress until we decide to.
exactly. And so, before everybody leaves, hit the subscribe, smash the like button. That'd be much appreciated. So typically these shows are on Friday nights, but as we mentioned at the beginning, we had to move it, because everybody was going to be at the Richard Hart stream, which makes sense. Why not go to him?
Right.
The source. So he's the plug. He's the true plug.
That's right.
Right. So, so of course we had to switch it up, but typically it's every Friday, 8:45. We do about an hour stream here, and it's typically covering traditional markets and crypto markets. Wales, maybe you can come on there and talk about some traditional markets too.
Sure, yeah.
So that way we can get some a different perspective from you, because you mainly talk about crypto. So it'd be interesting to hear some of your thoughts on the traditional markets a little bit. I know you go into them. You do deep dives in your
Macro
live
streams,
streams.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. So on Fridays we do this, and then Sundays we do MOT Today, which is more current events at noon. So we do like state, national, and then global. Or if you want to say a realm, if you don't believe in the globe, you know. So yeah, guys. But I appreciate everybody showing up. Wales, I appreciate your time, man. It's been a
My
pleasure.
pleasure, man.
So
Always fun.
for sure. All right, bro. Take care.
Peace.